Hey, Motorman here. Boy, what a way to begin a video. I know nobody wants to get into a crash like that, but if you do, if you ever get into a situation where you know you're going to crash, the most important thing is to keep your eyes wide open, because it may be the last time you see a crash like the one you're about to be in. But the way to avoid that is to use your head and eyes properly, and that's what this video is going to be about. Wherever you turn your head and eyes, the hands will follow, and that's where the motorcycle will go. Only look where you want the bike to go. And also, coming this Friday, I'm going to do a little video on some of the great Christmas presents you could buy for a motorcyclist. We'll start with some really inexpensive stuff, and for the big spenders, I know you're out there, big spenders, we're going to go into some more expensive presents that you could get. So come on, let's go. To learn the proper use of your head and eyes, it's important to practice under controlled conditions. Now let's watch this rider. He's going to make a U-turn. He straightens the bike up. We're in slow motion now, by the way, and he's looking at the cone, that orange cone that he doesn't want to hit. Looking straight at it, runs it over. Now he should already be turning his head completely as far as possible to the right so he can get his front tire to that green cone. If that was on the street, he'd be on the wrong side of the road. He can't get to that green cone, and he runs again right off the street. If that was in the real world, he'd be going off a cliff or into an oncoming car. Let's watch this rider. Turns his head, looks at the thing he doesn't want to hit, which is that cone right in front of him. He hits the cone, then he looks straight, and he almost runs into the next cone. You know what would happen if that was on the street and he was looking at a car coming at him? This rider, again, looking at the wrong thing. He's looking at the left side, the opposite side of the road that he doesn't want to go to. And look how close he comes to hitting it. He actually knocks it over with his foot. Now he should already be turning his head as far as possible to the right because he wants to get down this next street, call it a street, to that green cone. And he's missed it by 5 or 6 feet. Now he wants to turn around, but he just cut 5 or 6 feet off of his turning space. The motorcycle can do it. Again, he looks at the thing he doesn't want to hit, almost gets it, has to put a foot down. Now watch him go on to the wrong side of the road. His head should already be turning completely to the right as far as possible. He crosses the imaginary double yellow line. Don't let this happen to you on the street. I'm going to show you in just a couple of minutes what happens if you do these things on the street. The results could be, as I like to say, a serious death. This rider's going a little bit too fast for his skill level. Misses the green cone by a couple of feet. Looks at the thing he doesn't want to hit. And he hits it. It happens every time. Motorcycle goes wherever you look. Now, this rider should be looking at that green cone, but by this point, she's getting close to it and should already be looking completely over her left shoulder. Now she should be turning her head to the right because she wants to go up the next street in this intersection. Instead, she keeps her head turned to the left and crosses the road. If there was a car coming, she'd hit it for sure. Same thing here with this rider. He lets his head linger on that green cone. He should already be turning his head and eyes to the right. Knocks the tip of the cone over. Watch him look at it again. Way too long. The head turn should already be completely to the left. Again, watch this rider. She's going to make a circle here, so her head should be turned and looking back towards that green cone. But she turns her head so slowly, the circle is gigantic. Now she's looking at that green cone. The head should already be turned to the left. Almost hits it. She makes it through this gate okay. We're making S-shaped turns here. Now watch this one. Again, she's looking at that green cone too long. The head should have been turned before she entered that gate. Now she'll stare at this green cone. Looking dead at it. She should be looking past it. And of course she hits it. When you're making the circles, The head should be like that the entire time.
Okay.
You straighten the head out.
Yeah.
And that made your circle gigantic.
Okay.
You remember the Little Rascals, that show?
Yeah.
It was a comedy thing. It's called the double take.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Okay.
One turn of the head.
Okay.
It's far, just like that the entire time.
All right.
We use the parking lot, of course, to practice for the road. Watch this rider who doesn't have a good handle on his head and eyes. He's looking straight ahead. And what happens? He runs right off the road. The parking lot is no big deal, but on the street, it's pretty serious. This rider should be able to easily make this turn. Instead, again, he looks off the road and he goes off the road. This rider should be preparing to look through the curve. He could easily make this. Instead, he looks to the right. The bike goes to the right. You can learn these techniques out on the street, and I tell people all the time, but when you make the mistake on the street, and you're going to make it, it's, yeah, a serious death or worse. This rider looks to the right, head over heels. Don't let this happen to you, folks. This is why we have training classes. This is a classic. We're going to have two riders looking where they shouldn't be looking. Here's the first one. By the way, they're passing a vehicle over the double yellow line. They look at the cliff. Second rider looks at the cliff and follows his friend right over the cliff. Head and eyes is probably the most important thing you could learn. This rider should be able to easily make this turn. Just look through the curve towards the left because that's where the road goes. This bike starts to lean. She's not used to leaning. Thinks she's leaning too far. She's not. Decides to straighten up the motorcycle and look at the edge of the road. And right off the edge of the road she goes. Here's an extreme example of this from my Ride Like a Pro on the Dragon video. Looking at that truck. Step by step, right into the truck. Head over heels. Get yourself a copy of this video, the best $20 you'll ever spend on your motorcycle. You could avoid all those kind of crashes by simply learning to use your head and eyes under controlled conditions.